if you'd like to start with an opening statement, and then we'll have questions.
Well, we're excited to be in Indianapolis and part of the NCAA tournament. It's something I missed the past few years, and my players are elated. It was a tough grind this year, going through 4 COVID pauses and missing about 55, 60 days of practice, but our players handled that adversity with class, and they were very resourceful and played 4 tough games and came away with the victory, and I'm proud of them.
Okay, we're going to start with Howie Kasoy. Howie.
Hey, Rick, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
I wanted to ask you actually about Tommy Abadamarco and what made you want to get him on your staff and what it's been like having him with someone with such a veteran presence and has obviously been around a lot of tournament teams and has a very similar upbringing as you.
Well, Tom has had 17 jobs, and there's 2 people in my lifetime that I met were totally unique. One was David Pritchett, who was Lefty Drizel's assistant coach, and Tom Abadamarco. The 2 of them I've never seen so incredibly into recruiting. It's their life. It's Tom must speak. If I go to the restroom in Indianapolis and I see him in a hallway, he says, wait a second, I'll put Coach Pitino on. And I'm trying to go to the restroom. And I said, Tom, I'll be right back. And every place I go, he says, hold on, I'll put Coach Pitino on the phone. I've never seen anyone so dedicated to recruiting as Tom Abadamarco. And at age 71, he's such a pleasure to watch because his enthusiasm for recruiting is unparalleled since Dave Pritchett.
Thanks.
Next up, Eugene.
Hey, Rick, it's not your first rodeo, but it's the first NCAA tournament for a lot of your players. What's been your advice to them this week?
Well, it's a lot different being in a bubble and not being able to go outside and seeing the fanfare and being part of all of that. We have watched just so much film. Tonight we'll watch a movie just to try to occupy their time because there's nothing to do all day for these guys. So it's a little bit different than the normal NCAA experience, but it's obviously a necessity to do it this way. And we just try to tie up their time with meaningful things.
And from your experience, what's the biggest mistake first-timers make at the NCAA tournament? Is it just getting too caught up in the moment, or is it something else?
You know, I don't think I really don't believe there's a formula or there's any mistakes that are made. I do think that you really have to enjoy the experience because you don't know when it's going to happen again, regardless of who you are and what seed you are. You just don't know when lightning is going to strike in a positive way for you. So you just really need to just enjoy the experience, be prepared, relax certainly, and just have some fun.
And now that you've had some more time to look at Alabama, what's your impressions of them?
Well, there's very few. I mean, there's a lot of great teams. Gonzaga's a great team. Michigan's a great team. Illinois is a great team. And the one thing that makes them so great, like Alabama, is they're equally as good at the defensive end as they are on the offensive end. So that's what really is the formula for a great basketball team. It's not just offense, it's defense. And they're a top 2 adjusted defensive team in the nation, and they're also an explosive offensive basketball team. So they have a great system. They're fun to watch. I'm not sure it'll be fun to play against, but they're fun to watch on film.
Thanks, Rick.
We'll go to Dan Gelston, AP.
Hi, Rick. Do you ever find it, or friends and families perhaps of yours find it difficult that no matter, how much you accomplish, and this year's kind of a feel-good story, that things that happened in your past, personally, professionally, are constantly brought up? And does it ever take some of the, I don't know if joy is the right word, but some of the satisfaction of, trying to live in the moment and when you constantly have to relive the past?
Personally, I've got to make amends with my family if I've done things wrong. Professionally, they know what I'm all about. They know that nothing being said has any semblance of truth at all. So they're fine with that. But no, we don't. We're a family that is very strong together, and we don't pay a whole lot of attention to that. We know who we are, what we believe in. our values and so on. And when we make mistakes, we own up to them. So we're fine with everything.
And you mentioned that you brought 8 suits with you. Why not dress down like so many other coaches have this year?
It's just a motivational tool that I do with the players to show them that this is the conference tournament. The NCAA tournament is far different than the normal experience of games. And I don't think fashion's going to help me win. I don't think it's going to enable me to lose. So I don't pay too much attention to that as well.
Thank you. Barbara Barker, I believe from Newsday.
Hey, Rick, you started your basketball career really on Long Island by playing basketball, and now you're back in the New York area, and you've had so many ties to the New York area. What's it like at this point in your career? I heard you've said this is the last place you're going to coach. Kind of the symmetry of being back here in New York.
Well, I've actually started my basketball career in Manhattan. First, 8 or 9 years of my life on 26th Street.
Oh, okay. All right.
And 3rd Avenue. And then I moved to Queens until age 14, and then out to Long Island. And
Okay.
then, so I've got it all covered. But, St. Dominic's was a great experience for me. The values at the school and lifelong friends there. So it's the reason if Iona was in West Virginia or Kentucky or Pennsylvania, I would still be in Greece coaching in the EuroLeague. But because it's back home, I wanted to return home for the last remaining years that I get the opportunity to coach, and I'm just super excited to be the head coach there.
Thanks.
Jerry Tipton. Sorry, Jerry, go ahead.
There we go. Sorry. Hey, Rick, what movie are your guys seeing this evening, and how is it living in the bubble?
Well, the bubble's not a lot of fun, but it's a necessity. You just go to your room, you go to your after you pass the COVID test, you go to where you have film, and you go to places where you practice, depending on what site you're at. So not a whole lot of fun, not much to do. And we have a few movies picked out. I'm not sure. We have about 4 that we're going to watch. I'm not sure which one we're watching tonight.
Thanks. Good luck.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Dan Wolken.
Hey, Rick, I was curious if you had any impressions from what you've seen of Nate Oates. I mean, he's a guy who, plays a style it seems like that you as a coach would appreciate. And he also seems to coach with a lot of confidence and maybe even a little bit of friction. Just kind of curious what you've seen from him and if you have liked watching his teams play.
I enjoy watching his teams play immensely. I don't know him. I guess this is his first year at Alabama. And I don't know him real well, but he seems like a terrific coach. I don't know anything about the friction part, but seems like a terrific coach. And certainly we've got a lot of respect for what he puts on the floor and how hard they play. And that's a compliment to him and his staff.
Pete Ruff.
Yeah, hi, Coach. I was just curious because it's been so many ups and downs this year at Iona with all the pauses and all. Teams grow as the season goes on, but since you've had so many breakups, how have you seen this team grow differently than you may have seen teams in the past grow, just because of the COVID and all the ups and downs you've had?
I haven't seen him grow too much basketball-wise because we missed almost 60 days of practice, 2 months. So we haven't really improved that much because we haven't practiced that much. But I've seen a huge growth in them off the court as people in terms of their resilience, in terms of handling adversity, in terms of their mental toughness. And I'm very appreciative of that.
Next, we'll go to Tim Sullivan.
Hey, Rick. Just curious, this is the first year of your system being implemented at Iona, and you've obviously had a lot of interruptions. is it typical for your teams to respond more in the second year and pick up some of the nuances that down the road? Because obviously it's not been an optimum experience for you.
Well, you're right, Tim. I think at Louisville, it was first year NIT. Kentucky was, when I took over, they were on probation for 2 years, and Providence, same year, NIT. The difference is here, I haven't had a chance to do anything defensively except put in man-to-man. We haven't played any zone. We haven't put in our multiple presses. We've just had enough time to work on our man-to-man, and that's not all that bad. Because I think one of the reasons why we didn't reach our potential in those first years is we tried to put the whole system in at once and then recruit players to the system. And here we were able to concentrate on one defense, and we became pretty good at it because of that.
Mm-hmm. As a follow-up, it was referenced earlier that you've said that this is your last coaching stop. There's already been speculation about you and IU and probably some other places. Would you reiterate that you found a home?
I think IU is one of the best jobs in all of coaching. I've got great respect for their program. Coached against Coach Knight many times. And I'm not a candidate for Indiana or any job. And you could come to me with the greatest job on earth, and I would not consider it. I came home to coach and end my career at a small Catholic school. Providence College was very dear to my heart for those 2 years I was there. One of my big regrets is I didn't get a chance to spend enough time there. And I've been very lucky that the president and the athletic director flew over to Madrid, Spain. They knew me for years, followed me at clinics as young players and coaches. They knew what I was all about. They knew my family. They knew my friends, and they called a myriad of players that played for me. So they did their homework, they did their research, and I owe them everything, their loyalty, and I'm not going anywhere. If I go anywhere, it's going to be retirement, and I'm not looking forward to retiring anytime soon, but I'm looking forward to building a special program at Iona. We're in the infancy stages of recruiting there. We've got to get players that you see on the floor at Alabama, although I'm very fond of the players I have. We've got to get that type of length and that type of talent.
Thank you.
I'm going to butcher this name, Tony Tsoukalos.
Yeah, you got it right. Good job. Rick, you talked a little bit about Nate Oates' style and how fun it is to watch. How hard is it to go up against, and what challenges does it present?
Well, anytime you have players that can put it on the floor and they're 4 men, they're 3 men, that you have to contain the basketball. And once you contain it, you have to rotate, and they shoot so many 3-point shots, and then you turn around and they're one of the best defensive teams in the nation. So it's not easy, certainly, but anytime you go against a 1 seed or a 2 seed, Alabama probably is every bit as good as any of the 1 seeds. So it's difficult. When you're a 15 seed and you're going against a team of that talent, it's difficult. But no more difficult than any of the other 15 or 16 seeds. The challenge is there, and you've got to get ready for
it. AP Stedham.
Hey, Coach, congratulations on making the tournament with another team. And this is Coach Oates' second year. But I want to ask you, as a basketball scientist, when you're watching Alabama, is there one player in particular, if they negate his effort, that it changes things for Alabama?
Not really. We all know, obviously, they're terrific, and we all know they have the player of the year. But they really use their 5-man in a unique way. Their point guard is outstanding. Their 2s, 3s, Shackle, but they're all terrific. Every one of them. He uses them all, the dangerous weapons. They play extremely hard. They're down 20 points to people. They come back and they win the game. So they're mentally and physically tough in the final minutes of play. So no, it's not one person. It's their system. You've got to focus on the whole thing. But they're all terrific. I've got great respect for all their players.
Eddie Pels. Eddie.
Okay, there I am. Rick, I know you got a practice in Sunday night, and then there was some talk that the NCAA had tweaked a few things with its COVID protocol. And what I was wondering is, like, was that just presented to you as an option? Did you go to them asking them what you could do, or how did that all work?
Well, we were given the practice time. We had to pass 2 COVID tests before we could practice. So we didn't know if we were going to practice that night. And I gave 4 guys basically off, the guys who played a lot of minutes in the 4 games. And I practiced the other guys who really didn't get a lot of minutes. So we just found out late afternoon that we had the ability to practice, and we took advantage of it.
And then my other one, kind of unrelated, sort of a weird week for your kid. Are you happy, sad, both?
I'm elated. My son, I've always said this, obviously you love your children, but my son has learned under me as well as Billy Donovan. He's more like Billy Donovan than he is me. He's a class young man. He handled his firing with dignity and class. He handled his 8 years at Minnesota with tremendous class. He was a top 16 team this year in basketball, and lost his 2 guard, lost his center, and ran into a bad run because of it. But he's a tremendous young coach, just like Billy Donovan was at his age. And I'm super excited because the athletic director there is linked with Billy Donovan, and he's a special AD, and it's really a dynamic duo with both of them. I know he's going to do big things at New Mexico. I've had over 30 assistants go on to become head coaches, and he's as good as any of them. And I'm real proud of him. He's a terrific young man, and very excited for New Mexico, and very excited for his family.
Thanks.
Right, went out, right?
Ken Kraetzer.
Hey, Coach, I just wanted to ask you, one of the things that stands out is Alabama's played 30 games. I think you've played 17. What does that difference in experience factor into what you're dealing with on Saturday?
I don't think it's a number of games, but the number of practices we missed. We missed over 50 practice days, and that hurts more than the games, certainly. But Alabama's very experienced, very long, very talented basketball team. And as I said, I appreciate teams that are great at both ends of the floor, and they are.
Thanks, Coach.
Back to Barbara.
Rick, I mean, you just touched on this. I mean, missing, 50 practices. I mean, coaching in the time of COVID and getting a team, back to where you are now into the tournament. Where does this rank with all the accomplishments that you've done? You've had many accomplishments, but is this right up there just because of everything that's gone on?
Well, you never know. When you look back, it's tough to measure accomplishments. I think that this is a team that I don't know as well as my other teams because we haven't spent enough time together. We're sort of, it's patchwork that I've never had in the months of December, January, February, March. I've never had to get people in shape again to play the game so they don't have an injury. That was difficult. But, what I told the team over and over and over, I said to them constantly, I said, guys, this is not adversity. This is just some detours. Adversity is when you witness out there 500,000 deaths and people can't even have funerals, and loved ones can't even visit their loved one to see them and say goodbye to them. And I said, that's real adversity. I said, right now what we're going through is just postponements in a basketball season. We'll get through it fine. And so don't think it's a major detour. It's not. And the guys handled it with dignity and class and never complained, even though they were shut down in a small room for 10 days without even any fresh air. So they were very resilient, very strong, and they've come back in a big way because the MAC, I will say this, our conference, obviously it's not a high-powered conference, but I've been so fortunate in my lifetime. I coached against Frank McGuire, I think his last game, coached against Dean Smith, Bob Knight, some of the great coaches in the history of the game. And the coaches in this conference, the MAC conference, I think are really terrific. Every one of them are creative. They understand they don't have the talent and length of some of the Power 5 conferences, but boy, are they creative and outstanding coaches. Guys I recruited like, King Rice and Steve Masiella and Shaheen Holloway, they're guys I recruited, followed their careers, and now I'm old enough to be coaching against them.
Joseph Goodman.
Yeah, Rick, 2 questions. First, what still motivates you as a coach? And then secondly, the NCAA is at a critical place right now. Just wondering, what do you think the most important aspect of reforming it is?
Reforming it in what sense?
Just going forward through the NIL process and getting through the 2017 investigations.
Well, I'm not going to live in a glass house and throw stones at anybody, but I can tell you, years ago I had a press conference saying we had to get the shoe companies out of our business. We had to get certain elements out of our business, and I still believe that today. I don't think I do think the NCAA has to. The less rules, the better. I do think they have to make sure that players today can sell their likeness. I've always been in favor of players being able to wear the shoe that they want and have their own shoe contracts. But that's probably never going to happen because the colleges have their own shoe deals. But I think the players, if we want, sooner or later, the pros are going to take away our talent because they're going to go to the G League or they're going to go overseas and they're going to go from high school to it. And unless we get smart enough to understand that we need to protect our players and have them the ability to make money while they're in college, we're going to lose our talent. And that's not good. But that's for greater minds to think about than mine. As far as what drives me, I spent 2 years outside the game, and then I had an offer to go to a great franchise in Greece, Panathinaikos, and coach in the EuroLeague, where I learned so much about a different brand of basketball. I said to my wife, let's go to Greece. And she said, I'm not going to Greece. We have 12 grandchildren. I'm not leaving them. And said, but you're going. And I said, why? I said, you can't live without it. I watch you with sadness, stay up in the middle of the night and watch the Phoenix Suns play at 11 o'clock at night. And you need to go. You can't live without it. And you'll regret it for a long time if you don't take this job. And I took off on Christmas Eve from Miami to Newark, got on a plane, coached 2 years, had a blast, experienced things like Istanbul and Moscow and Spain and Italy and Germany and Tel Aviv. And it was the players I was coaching in Panathinaikos I loved. As you know, I'm going to be I'm going to be the national coach of Greece and met so many friends. It was just a wonderful experience. And if it wasn't for Iona, being back home, I would have never, ever left that franchise.
Tyler Martin.
And just wanted to ask you, you mentioned about, you appreciate teams that are really efficient on both ends of the ball. And one of those players that have garnered so much respect in this country is Herbert Jones. Just when you watch the film of Alabama, what have you seen from the SEC Player of the Year?
Well, there's not a whole lot he can't do. He's a factor defensively. He's the difference maker when it gets tough. He'll make the big defensive plays. He'll create mismatches in the low post. He's very active. Just a terrific basketball player. Really enjoy watching him. I love players like that. I need to recruit a few of those front court players like him. And we think we're on the way to recruiting guys like him. Maybe not as good right away, but have that type of length and have that ability to play every second as if it's their last second on earth.
Cecil Hurt.
Coach, hi, this is Cecil Hurt from Tuscaloosa News, and this is a little off topic, but I'm doing a column about all the many connections your years in the SEC and so forth. And if you don't mind, if I could ask you about a memory about CM Newton.
Well, in my lifetime, I've had the greatest players, and I've been close to all of them. John Simpson, Lou Lamoriello. I just bought season tickets to the New York Islanders, and I'm a hockey fan, but not a big hockey fan, just because I love Lou Lamoriello. And then certainly CM Newton at Kentucky was as great a person and AD as I've ever met. Just the expression country gentleman really describes CM Newton. Tom Jurich at Louisville was in the class of those guys. And now I got another guy at Iona, Matt Glavowski, who also is in that class, a little bit younger, but CM Newton was as good as it gets. Just a wonderful human being. I was very fortunate to be so close with CM. I actually hired him as a scout with the Boston Celtics. And that's how much I thought of his basketball acumen. And great AD, great basketball coach, great person.
Thank you.
Michael
Casagrande.
Yeah, Rick, just wanted, I don't know if you saw that Nate Oates said the other day that he used to watch your coaching tapes when he was in high school, when he was trying to figure out his way in the coaching game. I don't know if you'd heard that. And just do you see yourself in him, a younger version of yourself in Nate Oates today?
You know, I don't know, Nate. I'm watching his teams. I think he's a terrific coach. I don't know of any player in the country, high school or junior college, that wouldn't want to play in that system. Again, my son, I said to him just today, I said, do you know Nate? He said, great guy, Dad. You would like him a lot, but I haven't had the pleasure of meeting him. Probably not looking forward to meeting him and his team, but you know, he's doing a great job. The Alabama program, you know, sometimes had those moments with Wimp Sanderson, had those great moments in the past, and now they're back. They're one of the top teams in the country, and what a year they're having with football and now basketball. It's just incredible for that university.
Okay, we have two more. Mike Roberts.
Hi, Rick. I was just wondering how difficult it was to get your guys back in shape kind of after that long layoff and get back into the flow of a season.
You know, we're still not in great shape. The strength of our team is our backcourt, and my one player, Isaiah Ross, when he actually scored 31 points and had COVID, he went home, looked at his computer, and he tested positive, and he had 31 points, played his best game of the season. So we're getting there. We rely a lot on our backcourt. Asante Gist, who you'll meet in a few minutes, and Isaiah Ross are two very experienced, terrific backcourt players. They're both great guys, fun to coach, good leaders. And we have a tri-captains with Dylan Van Eyck, the three of them. I replaced a coach that got sick. He didn't coach last year. But we've had so many great coaches at Iona, going back to Jimmy Valvano, who recruited Jeff Ruland, one of the top players in the country, Pat Kennedy and Jeff Ruland and Kevin Willard and Timmy Welsh, all had great runs. But Tim Cluse he was a high school coach at St. Mary's in Manhasset, a Division II or III coach in college. And then I think he was a policeman. He came in and just did 8 spectacular years at Iona. I believe at 8 or 9, went to 6 NCAAs, and I hope Tim is doing well today. But he just had a longevity at Iona that was very special, and I hope I can do half the job that he has done at that school.
And last question, Mike Rodak.
Rick, you mentioned the Friars and Billy Donovan. Just what do you remember most about that 87 game, and are there any parallels between that PC team and your current team this year?
You know, I really didn't think of it until they mentioned it. Somebody mentioned it. But I'll tell you the parallel. I thought that Alabama team was almost invincible. And then when you watch this team, I don't know that. I'm not an expert on Alabama basketball history, but I would probably say that team and this team are the two greatest basketball teams in Alabama history, if I had to guess. But I'm not an expert on that. So we were able to beat them that night. Interesting enough, they had McKee, Farmer, Gottfried, Ansley, I think his name was. I can't believe I'm remembering these names. But anyway, they had an awesome team, and they shot, my memory serves me right, 57% in the game. And I think we shot 68% in the game. And it was really never a game. We blew them out. But to me, looking back on my basketball life, that was one of the biggest surprises of my life, that we were able to play with that team because they were so good. This team, the Alabama team, is much better than that team at the defensive end. This team is relentless on defense. This team is not going to allow us to shoot 67 or 68%. I can assure you that. So we've got our work cut out for us.
Okay, thank you, Coach.